Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Vollman, Editorial Director of OSP. I am here with Curt Frankenfeld, who is Director of Access Strategy with CenturyLink. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a good time.
Good. We have a couple questions, and one has to be asked is about your gigabit network. So the question I have is, what the biggest challenge you face, and what are the technologies you are using to support 1 gig services?
Okay. I guess the biggest challenges that we have, I'm going to give you two.
Okay,
out of the many. But the two, of course, the first one is how do we place fiber economically in the service areas? Of course, gigabit is going to require fiber. Getting fiber to the home, all the way to the home across a wide footprint, is time-consuming, expensive, and labor-intensive.
Mm-hmm.
So solving that problem is also, is something that we're constantly looking for new ideas on, looking to grow, looking to say how else can we do it better. But using GPON, which is our chosen technology to support this, also brings about a whole new set of challenges for us too. We have to learn not only how to manage the circuit level of availability, but how do we manage the overall availability of bandwidth? Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily just the uplink like we've come to think about it. We have to think about managing the bandwidth at the PON level, potentially managing the bandwidth within the home, mm-hmm. potentially managing the bandwidth at the backplane of the OLT, and then managing the traditional uplink, and then all the way through our core. Offering a gigabit service, that's been done, certainly, but it's in its infancy. We don't know for sure as an industry how the bandwidth is going to grow, how much people are going to use it, and how they're going to use it. And we have to monitor everything. So it's been a big challenge to try to figure out how to put that new technology in place.
Oh, I'm sure. And what are the technologies you're using to support or to monitor and continually improve the network?
Well,
I would say GPON. I think I should have said tools or tactics that you use around it.
All of the vendors are responding well and coming up with different ways that we can look at and different instrumentation points, if you will, between at each different point in that hierarchy mm-hmm. of usage. And then we also can look at it from an IP level and come up and say this is the actual usage. This is where the usage is destined. It's just a different way of thinking about it.
A constant learning, I'm sure.
But there's really not that much new in terms of the tools. It's new groups, it's new processes, and a little bit of new instrumentation in the plant itself.
Thank you. Staying relevant is a very important thing, and it's a big buzzword in our industry. In fact, our keynote presenters used that as their theme when I interviewed them. So how do you remain professionally relevant in your career?
Well, I guess I would actually go back to the keynote speech today. The whole concept of wireline evolution and wireline transformation is a very exciting new idea. Okay, we've got to do it. CenturyLink's no different than anyone else. We're faced with the same concepts. We have areas where we have, very high expenses to maintain the network. We have areas where we've got very high penetration. We need to continue that penetration. We have areas that are dedicated copper plant that'll probably be there until well after I retire. But that doesn't really answer your question. To me, the biggest thing is that I have to continue to grow. Okay, so I have to look at that wireline evolution and say, all right, I grew up with copper. I understand copper. Copper, I got to figure out how to get the last ounce of that. There's a lot of learning in that. There's a lot of new techniques. We're looking at things like VDSL2 vectoring,
right,
to say how can we use that copper more effectively. Then we're looking and saying, where does it make sense to replace it? Then we have to ask the big question, now that we got fiber in there, what are we really going to do with it? What are the additional services that are going to be put in there? How do we move away from a circuit-based economy into a service-based economy? And those kinds of ideas give me lots of room to grow and lots of room to think and work with other people to come up with new ideas. And that's where I find the value.
Makes perfect sense, and I think that's why we love this industry so much. There's a never-ending stream of new concepts, new technologies, and new thinking that we have to embrace. It's kind of like trying to drink out of a fire hose here.
Yes.
trying to inhale all of this with the volume that you can't even explain, correct?
Right.
Very, very good point, which brings us to 2015. And believe it or not, it's right around the corner, right? And
Scary, yes.
I hear you. We are already working on our January issue, which has predictions from a variety of analysts, industry experts, authorities such as yourself. So I'm asking if you would like to share a video prediction for 2015 with OSP.
Video is a good word for it. I think we're going to see, like a prediction that I would think is going to happen in the industry, not just to CenturyLink, but more over-the-top video, more different ways to deliver it, more different ways to consume it in the home, more mobility.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're also going to see more like apps show up in a home as opposed to individual devices. And so I think there's going to be some cool things that are going to be coming down in 2015.
I know, I'm excited too. One of those things I want in my home is the home automation and security just to be perfect, because some of it is a little hiccupy right now. Yes. So that's my wish for 2015. And that's actually all I have for you. I thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
This is Sharon Vollman from OSP. Have a great day.